You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey there, everybody. It's Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, back with you one more time. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
Seth.
Save Martha!
Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod!
On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
We like movies.
Yep. We
spent
talked for
about
4 hours.
4
about
hours.
14 hours of movie discussions, of movies of the past, movies yet to come, ghost of future movies. We can't talk enough about movies. That's just part of our charm.
That's a little quirk we have. We like movies.
Hmm.
We like movie theaters. It'd be nice to have one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've driven past that tool store.
I will
Can't say
never
I
step
can go in.
foot
I
in
just
that place.
I'm
Can't
not
go
going
in.
in.
Can't do it.
Never
Nope.
will happen.
Nope.
Dream on.
I
sure
never
they'll-
really feel the need to buy cheap tools,
No?
but if I did, it wouldn't be there.
It wouldn't be there. It'd be one of the other 10 freaking tool stores in our town
Right.
that doesn't have a movie theater. Anyway, we're not better. So I
Years.
mentioned...
Been gone for years.
Yeah. Get over it. I mentioned on our movie awards podcast that
That you definitely listen to.
yes. Along with everyone else. That
No, I'm talking to them out there.
Yeah.
We know they all listen to every
so
second.
you heard me say, of course, that I mentioned the Sundance Film Festival and that I was attending it online. Found out you could do that and was off the weekend that you could do it and did it.
That's pretty cool, I gotta say.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And probably amazing for the filmmakers there,
yeah.
having a chance to get a wider audience. Because, getting into Sundance is amazing, but, maybe a few thousand people might see your movie. Like, being able to stream it online, I'm sure, is wonderful for these directors trying to break out.
Yeah. And a lot of people that people that went to Sundance, because it really kind of starts the weekend before and they all go for the weekend and then come home and do what I did and watch a bunch more movies online. So, but I was disappointed last year. They were doing it last year, but I thought I'll do that next year. But also the reason being I had added several movies to my watch list that I heard people talking about came out last year at Sundance, and they were like, "Oh, watch for this, or watch for that," and those movies are just lost to time as far as I'm concerned. I'm never going to get to see those. So you may never get to see some of these movies I talk about, but I got to see. It's like, there are just so many indie movies that are made that are brought there that if they don't get bought, they may be gone. I know there was for one thing, there was a Jonathan Majors movie last year that was getting a lot of hype, and we'll never see that freaking movie. But anyway, I realized they were doing this. It was not ridiculous. It was, I mean, it costs a lot of money to go to Sundance. First off, beyond the ticket, traveling and doing all that, and but the online thing is not cheap, but I think it's very, considering what you pay to go to the movies anyway, it is extremely affordable, and you can just watch it in your living room. Uh, basically, I was paying $25 a movie. Well, if I take my son to a movie or go to, that's $25, and I had to pay for gas and all that. I was like, so my son and I sat there and watched these movies and paid what we would have watched in the theater, and we may never have got to see these movies otherwise. So I thought that was extremely affordable.
You don't get a commemorative popcorn bucket.
You don't, you can't get your Dune popcorn bucket,
Yeah,
but
you got to bring your own.
and another thing I'll say, it was very slick and easy, and the user interface was great. Like you just got on your phone, made an account in a minute, and you just went through the movies you were allowed to choose from. Some of them would sell out, so there was things I did get a chance to see. One, because they sold out. There's other ones I didn't get to see that only showed there. So some of the bigger things weren't available to the online people. Like that Levelized Bleeding premiered there that comes out next month.
Yeah.
But that I feel like those are stunts. Like that's just a movie just choosing to use Sundance as a premiere. They were going to come out anyway. They weren't looking to be bought. There's a couple Jesse Eisenberg movies that premiered that were looking, to be bought, and Kristen Stewart movie, a few indie movies, but that were bigger. I think that there was Sasquatch. What was that? Sasquatch Sunset that caught my eye.
Yeah.
But it's like Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keough dressed up in Sasquatch suits, trying to play like they're Sasquatches. That's the whole movie. They're just
Sign me up.
yeah. I don't know. We'll see what that is, but I didn't get to see that either. But you just buy the movie on, rent the movie on your thing, and once you start it, you have a few hours, like 5 hours to watch it, and there's an app you just download to your TV, and it's on there, and it looks great, and they give you right before it plays, it plays a introduction from the director, and they kind of tell you, they don't spoil anything, but they kind of tell you what they, give you some little blurb about the movie and tell you what they want you to know beforehand. Right after the movie ends, it rolls right into the Q&A that they had there at Sundance when it showed, and it's like 20 minutes of them talking to the cast, questions from journalists and the audience. I mean, it's great. It just works really slick. But I saw 6 movies, and let me pull them up here. I enjoyed all of them. So I hit the jackpot. But another thing about doing it from home is I got to sit there and watch online as everybody watched movies all that weekend, and throughout the weekend I'm like, okay, well, everyone, I have access to this movie, and it's getting good reviews, and it looks like something I would be interested in. So it turned out all of those were movies I liked. I watched 6 movies. One was called Good One, directed by India Donaldson. Don't know if anyone bought this. I thought it was a nice little indie movie about a teenage girl she's supposed to go on a camping trip with her father and her father's friend and his son. But the son doesn't end up going. He doesn't want to go. So she's going out there with her dad and her dad's friend. And, it gets weird. But mostly it is a nice little movie about this, just, again, what women go through. Even teenage girls having to cater to the men in their lives, just like required to support them in some way. Doesn't matter who they are, that, this or she's having to help her dad, and the friend, wants support from her too, and it's like it's always about them. And it kind of shows her perspective, and I thought it was very enjoyable. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if you never hear of it again, though. I watched a documentary called Skywalker's a love story, which I thought was a really dumb title, but this was neat. It wasn't the greatest thing I ever saw, but I was intrigued by it's about these couple rooftoppers, they're called, but basically they're like Instagram climbers. They're climbing for the clicks. They climb all these tall buildings and get sponsorships and stuff for them to, for people, because they get all these clicks where they climb the tallest buildings in the world. And it's better than it sounds, only because these people, the two people that it follows, are this man and woman that eventually meet each other and get together and start climbing together and fall in love. And it's really neat to see how their relationship develop as the guy becomes more and more worried for her safety, because she's kind of crazy. They don't use any kind of safety at all. They just climb these super high, crazy buildings. And I mean, apparently a lot of people die doing that. And I'm not surprised. But it was neat. I'm sure it will show up on something. And if you're scared of heights, don't watch it. I watched I think you would like this, Jordan. This is called Kneecap. It's named after an Northern Irish rap group. They're a real group, but they're playing themselves in kind of this reimagining of how they got together. But they're from Belfast, I believe, and they kind of met randomly and formed this rap group. And they're a bunch of Irish guys, but they rap in the Irish language, which I guess the UK does not like people using that language. And they're trying to, they kind of become politically involved without meaning to. Like, they're just trying to rap and save this language. Like, they use the language and spread it, and they rap a lot about it, and they're just like you're not going to take away it. That's our identity, is having this language. And it's a fun movie. They are really good. I mean, I know they're playing themselves, but they are good. They pull it off as actors. And Nick really liked it. It was a lot of fun, and I liked the music they made, and I would definitely recommend it. They're called Kneecap, and that's the name of the movie. I also saw 3 other movies. There was one called Didi, Didi, directed by Sean Wang. Did you guys remember that movie mid-90s? That Jonah Hill movie? Did you guys watch that? Yeah, where it was like a kid, it was just a kid grown up. He's like a skateboarder in the 90s.
Culture, yeah.
Yeah. This one is set in 2008, and it's a 13-year-old Taiwanese American boy going out and trying to find himself, trying to live his life, trying to, being an awkward kid, dealing with the other kids. But it's set in that very specific time. So there's like just the beginning of Facebook and the instant messenger and the tail end of MySpace. And it's just really interesting to see that portrayed again, this specific time on screen. Plus it involve all that is involved in his culture as an immigrant family. I thought it was very good to watch this little a-hole kid and his family and his mom having to deal with them. The mom is really good in it, and I would be surprised if you don't see that. I don't know that it's been bought. I haven't seen where anybody bought it yet, though. But the last two we watched back to back on the final day, and I did not tell Nick what it. Nick is just my son is so good. He doesn't care. He trusts me to you know deliver these things. I just tell him we're gonna watch it. He's in. I'm all in. I'll watch whatever you put in front of me. I'm just like, I love that. So I said, this is going to be a sad day. We had to watch it in my bedroom, so we're just comfy sitting on the bed with all these pillows, just both of us leaning back, bawling our eyes out all day watching these two documentaries. First one we watched was Daughters. This is about the prison system, basically. It's horrible. There's of course, it's 99% African American men in this movie in jail, and it's about them losing the relationships with their families and their daughters specifically. And there was a program started where they tried to create a daddy daughter dance where they could bring basically these kids were having dances and their fathers couldn't come to it because they were in prison. So this woman created where these daughters would prepare to come to the prison and have a dance, and the men would prepare for weeks and weeks, go through this program to be able to do it, to qualify to do it, and they're going to bring them in. It's just about trying to any effort to try to stop this cycle of these men are in jail. They didn't have fathers involved in their lives, and hopefully if they're some way able to be involved in their children's lives, maybe that will stop this cycle. But it's just a tearjerker watching all these kids and excited to see their dads, and the dad's excited and not wanting to screw it up, and it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely check it out if you get a chance. That is called Daughters. The last one I saved specifically for last to watch because I knew I was going to like it. I knew Nick was going to like it. It's called Ibelin. It's Ibelin. It's already been bought by Netflix, so I'm sure it'll be on the next 2 or 3 months. It is a documentary about Mats Steen, who's a Norwegian kid who had Duchenne's, which is like a form of muscular dystrophy, I believe. And so from a very early age, he no more than learned to walk, and he was losing the ability to walk. And it's basically his parents talking and showing footage of him growing up and just how sad they are about the life he had. He's going to die young. He only lives to be 25. He died in 2015, I believe. But just the first little bit is about that, and they're showing a lot of footage of him and how he of course he breaks down, but most of the time when he's shown, he's just sitting in his wheelchair or sitting on the computer, and from his parents' perspective, they're just devastated at all he will miss. He'll never have relationships. He'll never have a girlfriend. He'll never get to do anything. They want to go to a concert and he doesn't want to go. It's horrible. Meanwhile, he's sitting there looking at the camera, kind of sad looking, but playing World of Warcraft on the screen. And when he died, he left his password to his computer, and like that next day or whatever, they logged in and saw that he had a blog, and they had some followers, so they just posted, hey, Matt's died, our son died, he had this disease, and they left their email. And they got so many responses about how he was friends with all these people and had such an impact on all these people's lives that they had no idea. Specifically, he was part of a guild in the game World of Warcraft and had close relationships with all these people in the game, but they didn't know they only knew him as this character, this avatar of, just he was not inhibited by his disease. So he didn't have, people didn't have preconceived notions about him. He just got to be a regular person in this world. And he was known as always being there. So, and, people wondered how he could be there all the time. Well, he literally could do nothing else. And there's thousands and thousands of pages of all the conversations he had on there. And it's all kept and animated. The other step that takes us kind of over the top is animators took those conversations and recreated in the animation in the style of World of Warcraft, reanimated those scenes to show those conversations with all the characters that he was interacting with for the movie. So you sit and watch a lot of it is like you're watching the world of World of Warcraft, but them interacting as real people in it. And it's just an amazing documentary. Like, it's so sad, but it's so enlightening. And we look at the internet as just like being this cesspool nowadays. And when you see this, you see like there's, all the good that can come from it for some people that have no other access to relationships and such. And it's an amazing thing to see. And I really can't wait for people to get to check it out. That is called Evelyn, and that's just the name of his character that he was in World of Warcraft. But that was Sundance. It was awesome to get to do that. I'll definitely try to do it again next year. I spent about $175 to watch 6 or 7 movies and don't regret it at all. It was a great treat that weekend.
Pretty sweet.
Did any of you guys watch Greatest Night in Pop? That was actually at Sundance also. Like, I bet all these people got excited. They got to watch Greatest Night in Pop. Mm-hmm. We're talking about how it's one of their favorite movies at Sundance that came out on Netflix the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I'm sure we will, but I just haven't gotten there yet.
How? This should have been like, I could not. As soon as I saw it was on, I immediately watched this movie. Like,
this is the first day I've had Netflix in a while.
Okay,
except for that one day. I'll allow it.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Well, it's just so like great, the perfect thing for our age group to watch. This is the making of We Are the World. Mm-hmm. You just get to see how it was made and all the behind the scene footage, and see all of these people, icons come together without their entourages. Nobody has their agent or anything in the room. It's just the stars mingling together. All these musicians mingling together, and how some of them are nervous or feel inferior, or some of them want to take charge, and some don't even want to be there, or it's just really neat to see how all these. It's a once in a lifetime thing for all these people to come in there. You never see people without their entourages nowadays, and I don't know if you could even pull something off like this again. It's all these amazing musicians, and like we've always wondered, and all of them, and Dan Aykroyd. It's like all the best musicians in the world, and Dan Aykroyd somehow is in this room.
That's a blues brother you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very strange, but I loved it. I loved seeing all that footage and how all the quirky moments. But I loved Huey Lewis in it, and apparently I found out just today that Prince famously did not come. He's just not a people person like that. But he apparently the Huey Lewis line was the line that Prince was supposed to sing, and Huey Lewis got to sing it. I think he did better than Prince could ever do. Oh my gosh, bring it. Anyway, so that's Sundance. Have you guys been watching any movies?
Not really. The only one I've watched recently, also a documentary. I think it was made several years ago, but I just saw it on Prime. I think maybe it just came out there, called Batman and Me. And it's a documentary about a guy who collected Batman stuff from the 1989 Tim Burton movie. So this filmmaker found him online. Specifically. So this filmmaker found this guy online. He's from Australia. He's like, "Can I come down and look at your collection?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And it's just a seemingly normal guy with a girlfriend and a normal house. There's literally no sign of it in his house until there's one closed door with a bat symbol on it. And you open it up, and it's just wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling, everything.
Just like Batman's house.
Right. You put the clock down in the cave. So this guy, it goes into his psychology a little bit, not enough for me, but like he was just, I don't know, like he was looking for friends or something, but like he fell in with this guy who collected movie posters. So all of a sudden this guy got big into movie posters, and then he met some people who were Star Wars guys who went to the Star Wars cons, and then he became a Star Wars collector. And then 1989 rolls around, and it's Batman fever, and he's like, I got to get everything. So if you remember back then, that logo was on everything, from toys to bath soaps to pencil
Taco Bell cups and displayers and
this guy was talking about getting all the collector's cups, like trying to buy an empty cup, and the guy didn't understand. He's like, "Don't you want the soda?" He's like, "No, don't put soda in it. I just want the cup. I'll pay full price." So like the guy just collected, and then through the sequel, and then when we got to the Batman, what was the Forever?
Yeah,
Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm done," and he just stopped. He didn't buy anything more Batman ever, but he still has collected
respect.
it. Yeah, so everything's still in the package, everything's mint condition. He's still super anal about it. He won't sell anything, but he just stopped and closed the door.
That was it.
And so he's trying to like talk to this. So what made you? And like he doesn't have any comics. He doesn't know much about Batman. People are like quizzing him about the movie. He's like, yeah, I mean, I like the movie, but he like barely even likes it. But just something compelled him. He had to collect everything. And it was just, I don't know, it was a little sad.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because the guy, it's obviously some mental problem or something, that he probably needs therapy to work through. But the movie's just not equipped to deal with that. So it's mostly like, hey, look at all this stuff. This guy's quirky. But my favorite part was that they do the reenactments, but they use action figures. So they have a little Bruce Wayne figure. When it's the guy, he's like, then he went, and it would just show the little action figure walking through. And they had like, there's Ghostbusters toys where their eyes popped out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, then they saw his collection. Woo! And like it had, so they did a really clever, using the toys in a humorous way. But it was really inventive. But I don't know. It made me think that would be an interesting documentary to because all three of us collect stuff. Like we have reason, talk to Cliff about what is it about Ewoks. Let's dig down and figure out what this is about.
We did obvious mental problem.
Right.
Obviously.
We all need therapy. But yeah, there's that's interesting to me. Like what makes people tick in this way? What draws people to this sort of thing? And the end of the movie talks to a few other people. It talks to a friend of his who collects like Batman statues, like the real high end, hundreds of dollars tall statues. And like the guy's like, no, my collection's not as big as his, but I'm very focused on what I do. And the other guy's like rolling his eyes, like, yeah, this guy's got 12 statues, big deal. Like he doesn't respect the other guy, like he thinks he's silly. It's like, you're all crazy. Like, what is the problem? But I don't know. It was very, it's low budget. It's just sort of, I don't know, low, under the radar kind of movie. But I found it interesting, but I don't know. It was more interesting what wasn't said and what was left out, I think, of what's really behind all this nonsense that draws people like us to obsess over certain things.
Right. Yeah. So it's been happening in the comics world.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Well, some people use their imagination.
Well, I must hurry back to my comic book store where I dispense the insults rather than absorb them.
Happens all the time. Read a comic book, okay?
Well, if you like Batman, maybe you like comic books. Yeah. Have you heard about the scandal that rocked the CGC?
What Dogman do now?
Nothing to do with Dogman this time.
This time.
So we all know the Certified Guarantee Company, that place you send your comics to, and they grade them and put them in a plastic slab. And we
charge you a bunch of money.
Charge a lot of money, and people pay big bucks for a 9.8 versus a 9.4. This is the standard.
Yep.
If you're on eBay, you can trust that book is mint condition because somebody has graded it and looked at it. Maybe not anymore.
Well.
A scammer, possibly more than one, they figured out people were buying valuable comics that were high grades, getting them graded, so like getting a 9.6 or a 9.8. So the scam took you had to invest some cash in it. But if one of the slabs is damaged, you can send it in to be reholdered. So these people so inside the slab, the books are sealed, heat sealed or something, vacuum packed, some in a plastic sleeve of some sort. But somebody figured out how to open the slab, swap in a lesser grade comic,
and
then send it back to be reholdered. So they could sell a beat up comic as a 9.8 that they spent a couple $100 on and make a couple thousand, and then they'd still have their high grade comic.
I don't see what they're hurting. I'm just kidding.
Was it you? Was it your scam?
Well, it's a great idea because they're never going to open those things anyway.
Exactly. So there were some photos taken, and they all have barcodes, and you can track them. So like people were getting photos of like, this is not the same comic in this same thing, and then some internet sleuths tried to figure it out. So they are pretty sure it's happened quite a bit.
Oh, I have no doubt that it's rampantly been going on for years.
Right. So if you can't, the point of this is trust, right? We trust these people to grade these comics. We trust this comic. That's what you're paying for.
Right.
Is the guarantee.
The chain of custody here, like we want.
So if that cracks, if there is no more trust, then what happens? What's the value? It doesn't have a value. So no one can quite say how widespread it is, but it ain't good. But I have always been a little bit skeptical because the whole system is built on getting high grades. I've never done this. I'm not an expert. I could even be wrong on some of these details, but like I have heard like they charge more for high grade books is what I've heard. So their incentive is to grade it high. Your incentive, you want a high grade book. High grade books sell for more, so then they're more desirable. People talk about it. More people send them in trying to get high grade. So like, have they ever been honest? Like, what's the incentive to give a book a 6 when it's called a 7.8 or whatever? I don't know
how much sleep the guy got the night before, whether he got laid.
Right. Yeah, and it's human. Yeah, two different people are going to look at two different books, differently. So I don't know. It's all been based on faith. The whole thing is yeah, let's just assume this is all right. So now there's been a little bit of crack in the foundation. So who knows what's going to happen?
Okay, that's exciting because I'd like to see this whole house of cards fall down. I don't own a slab. And I'd like to see all these people have wasted their money.
And here's my semi-annual Diamond update.
Ooh, okay.
My comic distributor used to be a monopoly for 20 some years, is not doing so great. This is purely anecdotal, but they've sent me a calendar every single year, a full,
this one only have a couple months in it.
Different,
They're like, we don't want to plan ahead.
Yeah. The calendars have 12 full months. Each month has a theme. This is manga month. This is kids book month. And they all have the dates on them. When my orders are due, when the new catalogs come out, blah blah blah. So since I've been open, 18 years, I've gotten this catalog. This year, they sent me one piece of paper that just had all 12 months printed on it.
Wow.
Just one sheet instead of an actual calendar. It's like, oh, somebody's cut their budget a little bit.
Calendar guy lost his job.
No more calendar guy. Calendar man. And then they canceled the Diamond Retailer Summit. Again, that has been going on since I've been open, at least, where it's in a different city every year, connected to some big Comic Con. There'd be a retailer summit where they'd have publishers there, they'd have representatives from Diamond, and they'd invite all the retailers to wine and dine and talk about the industry and preview their upcoming stuff. And that's been going on forever. And then this year, they're like, yeah, we're not doing it. So again, these are just details. That's not there's nothing official said, but it just the signs are there that Diamond's not doing so hot, and they've been cutting a few major corners. And then Free Comic Day rolls around, and we're having for the third year in a row, they have a presenting sponsor, which for all Free Comic Days, the shops are the sponsors. They buy this stuff. But 3 years ago, Coca-Cola was a sponsor.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Coke didn't promote it. They didn't do a tweet about it. They did nothing. But there's a Coke logo on every book, every poster, everything. But all the books still cost the same. So, the Coke paid some money to Diamond.
Yeah.
That money didn't funnel through to anybody else. So then the second year, the sponsor was some online seller, which the whole idea of Free Comic Day is getting people out into the shops, and the sponsor was, buy these variant covers online at our website. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You'll never guess who the sponsor is for this year. CGC, the Comics Guarantee Company.
Wow.
So the company dealing with a bit of a scandal is now our sponsor. And if you wanted to buy bags, like plastic bags for your store, that have the Free Comic Book Day logo, we've also been able to buy these bags.
Yeah.
Well, this year they had one side has Free Comic Day on them, and the other side has CGC's logo and website and a QR code. But they cost the same. And people must have been like, what are we getting a sponsor for if all our costs are the same?
Yeah.
Diamond had to put out a press release that, quote, despite a substantial increase in production costs for these bags since our last order nearly 3 years ago, we have some great news. Thanks to CGC's sponsorship, we were able to maintain the current pricing. So they're saying, thanks, it would have cost a whole lot more, but it still just costs exactly the same because of these wonderful sponsors.
Wow.
So everything's great in the comic world.
What percentage does Diamond of your of what you buy, get delivered? What percentage is Diamond delivered?
It used to be 100,
right?
And now it is Boom, Dynamite, Archie, and a couple more like Titan and a couple random smaller publishers.
So
like
not a whole lot. Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still get my supplies from them, bags, boards, boxes, that kind of stuff. But that might shift sooner rather than later as well. So there's only a couple things that are really exclusive that I can only get from Diamond. and it's not any of the biggest sellers, but there still are. Boom has Buffy and Power Rangers and some big books. Dynamite has some
Yeah,
big
but
books, but
that's
comic
nothing
shops
compared to what they were.
could,
Jeez.
shops could survive with it,
So who
and may
does
have to.
who's Penguin do?
Penguin is Marvel, Dark Horse, and IDW.
Okay. DC.
And Lunar is DC and Image. And then there's a couple that overlap, like Oni you can get from either or there's a few of the smaller publishers that don't have exclusive deals. And another piece of news I saw that made me shrug. Beckett. Everybody remember Beckett?
Oh yeah.
Sports card grading magazine.
Yeah.
So I guess they've pivoted to this. There's like Beckett Grading, and I guess they do that as well. So Beckett Collectibles is offering manga grading, expanding their comics and collectibles grading service to an industry-first manga. Which
Do these guys provide your fake noodles list every year?
Sponsored by.
They're the sponsor of Fake Noodles.
Impasta.
This announcement was met with, quote, scorn and skepticism. Starting at $30 for the grading service, with an additional $20 if you want it placed in a plexiglass slab. So to me, the manga audience is not the collector. What good? And those books are printed on the cheapest, thinnest, black and white newsprint.
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone cares that they're mint condition or not. So this just seems like something nobody's asking for. But somebody said, hey, there's a whole bunch of collector, Japanese comics are the best sellers in the world, and nobody's grading them. Quick. Slab stuff. So I don't get that at all. I don't know that there's an audience for it. And the online reaction was a lot of, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So who knows? But that just seemed incredibly silly to me.
Best in the world, says Dogman. I think not.
That's the next thing. We'll start slabbing.
Yeah.
Young reader comics. All your middle schoolers are going to have their.
Yeah.
We trade them at lunch. I've got an 8.0, dog man. I'm looking for a 9.2.
On the shelf. Have you read that? No, it's sealed.
Yeah.
But it's a 9.5. I can't open it.
This industry is silly. All right, anybody reading anything?
I just finally picked up some books. I haven't been to the shop in weeks. I'm gonna read them.
I got a couple of the recent big releases. Marvel restarted the Ultimate Universe. So the first one out was Ultimate Spider-Man. And so they did a Ultimate Universe mini-series that was basically the Maker, which is the alternate reality, Reed Richards, who was the villain, kind of undid the superhero world. So like he went back and kept Bruce Banner away from the bomb and kept the Spider away from Spider-Man. Like he tried to make a world with no superheroes was the idea. So this is this new Ultimate Universe. Peter Parker is middle-aged, married to Mary Jane with kids, was never bitten by the spider. So he finally gets his spider powers in his mid-30s. So this is a new twist on this by Jonathan Hickman, Marco Cecchetto. So this was, when the first Ultimate book launched, it was like, we need a 15-year-old Peter Parker for new kids to read, to identify with, that's not burned with long continuity, and breath of fresh air for the industry. And it worked. And now it's like, we need older readers who like wives and kids, and like we're aiming straight for that middle-aged crowd. We're not even pretending anymore to want kids to read these. So that's what it feels like to me. I'm like, we've given up on trying to get new readers, and we're just gonna try to make the old guys happy because they haven't been happy recently. So let's just try that.
Yeah, throw them a bone, says Dogman.
So this book, I ordered quite a few, thinking it might be a big deal. And the first week, people were picking it up, just interested in it. I had a couple of kids actually come in, like, is that new Ultimate Spider-Man out? It's like, hey, that's cool. And then the book jumped up, went crazy on eBay, and was starting to be worth a lot of money. So then the second week, I still had books on the shelf, and people were coming in buying multiple copies because it was valuable now.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, I sell out, and everybody's looking for it because it's hot on eBay. So then the next one to come out is Ultimate Black Panther. And that does the same thing. People missed the boat on Spider-Man, so they do not want to miss Black Panther. So all of a sudden, Black Panther's selling for $25 on eBay the day it comes out. I sell out before noon on the first day I got it. So I'll never understand this industry or how to order books in a non-returnable fashion.
That's the point. That's what you're.
I'm very bad at it.
Oh, that's crazy.
But Black Panther's never been a big seller in any incarnation whatsoever. So how am I to know slapping the word ultimate on it is going to make people freak out? But it did.
I would never
Especially
have guessed.
when the book is $5.99. These first issues are $5.99.
That's literally why I didn't buy it. These people are lapping it up.
Yeah. So we'll see if that's a long-term thing or not.
Did we ever talk about Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know who did it or what. I know that it's one dude drawing it and writing it, and it's really neat. I thought it was really neat. And you probably know more about it than I do, but I know it's drawn in the style of like is it Richard E. Scarry? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah, the Busy Town books for kids.
Yeah, just look at all the anthropomorphized animals and clothes living in a town, just friendly little like Arnold type town.
There's the grocer and there's the mailman, and everyone's got a job to do, and they say hi to the neighbors.
Yeah, very quickly, a few pages in, you realize that one of the townspeople, just a friendly bear, is going to another town and murdering people. It's a serial killer. It's like, and it's graphically drawn in this children's book style that was just amazing. Just kind of took my breath away. I was like, what a neat idea to go so graphic, is, in this style. I was amazed. And the ending of the first issue is shocking and just a great launching point for a series. I have no idea whether it's, I mean, I don't even know where I heard about it, but I was excited that we're getting it. And I'm curious if it should be big. I haven't heard of it anywhere else, but it should be big. Like, it's good.
Yeah, I got a lot of buzz before it came out. I'm sure, like, when they get the first story arc, the first trade will be big in bookstores and stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Another big Marvel release, Avengers Twilight. Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuna. 6-issue story set in the future with an elderly Steve Rogers has to reassemble the Avengers to save the future. The world is very prosperous, and everybody's they have good lives and they're entertained, but it's not great. They're actually enslaved, but they don't know it. And Cap's gonna give a good speech and wake them up and get them out of it. But do people even want that anymore? Do they want freedom? Who knows? Yeah, we're happy. We're fine with.
As long as I still have Wi-Fi. Come on, Cap. I don't need this. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I remember when I feel like I stumbled onto Earth X, Universe X, that stuff many, a million years ago, and it just seemed like such a neat thing, this alternate future and stuff. And then the last Avengers story, that 2-issue thing, that Peter David, I love that. It was just like Hank Pym was, having to deal with, they're all old, and just the dealing with the future. So I'm into this idea of some big jump into the future, especially when it's Cap.
Cap centric. DC had their Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum 5-issue prequel to the upcoming video game Arkham Asylum Kill the Justice League, or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And they're doing that famous thing. Each issue will have a redeemable code for something in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. The game's not getting great reviews, I don't think.
I was just talking to Cooper about this. He mentioned it tonight. And apparently that criticism may have been a little too soon.
Before people had actually gotten to play the game,
right? And he got to play the game, and it's the world we live in now. But you can't buy a video game, I don't feel like, that's actually finished, a finished product and ready for consumption. It's they put something out there, and then they have to roll all these updates and fixes, and players find errors in the game and that type of thing. But he was just saying, his point was basically, hey, instead of all this criticism out the gate, maybe they should give it just a little bit of time and see that it improves or gets finished or whatever. And he was saying, I hear it's a pretty good game. So I don't know. I don't play video games.
So the smart thing would be to wait to buy the game and just read the comic first, get all your info there, and then go buy.
Take that with a grain of salt. Comic book shop owner telling you about it.
DC's also got Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. 7-issue mashup miniseries that no one saw coming, but has been a pretty good hit. It's people are curious. It's crazy. It's big. Lots of monsters fighting the Justice League. That's a fun time.
Who's all in the Justice League these days?
This one's just kind of the iconic.
Okay, just your
well,
regular...
right now there is no Justice League after the big last crisis. They all took time off, and now it's the Titans are the main heroes.
That's right.
So yeah, this one's just kind of its own standalone thing. Image is launching their Ghost Machine books. So they started with a 64-page one-shot. So this is all the people who used to work for Marvel and DC are now. We're having another Image defection. So some really big stars like Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Jason Fabok, Brian Hitch, Brad Meltzer, Peter Tomasi, Ivan Rice, Francis Manipul, and several others. They're all going the creator-owned route and launching their own books that they own at Image, but they're all like going in together. So they're all going to be a shared universe. So there is like Jeff Johns' Geiger book is kind of in the superhero side of things. And then there's a side that's kind of horror.
He gave
sci-fi
me
side.
He gave me a little like ash can thing he was giving out that he signed at the from Baltimore. And that's what it was. I didn't know what it was till you just
Okay.
It's a Geiger thing.
Yep. So yeah, these were the people who were doing Batman and all these big books at DC are like, yeah, we can make our own characters. So they're launching a bunch of new books, and they're all going to be in the same world. They're going to cross over at times. They're all going to be their own thing. So the first issue was kind of neat. It just gave you a sample of a bunch of them, and they're going to start launching over the next couple of months. Keep your eyes out. Dynamite just launched a Thundercats series, bringing back the 80s beloved cartoon. It's like a young, inexperienced Lino. They had to leave their home Earth and land on Third Earth. Was that the name of it?
Yeah, Third Earth.
Fighting Mum-Ra and the mutant. So again, that 80s stuff will never go away. There haven't been Thundercats books in a long time, but we're finally back to those.
Yeah, Third Earth is I think it was confirmed several years ago. Third Earth is Earth. It's here after, in the future. Well, after, nuclear war and the mutants have,
And the Snarfs have taken over.
the Snarfs.
The biggest books out at the moment is this Energon universe. An Image. Transformers and G.I. Joe all in one connected universe. Kicked off with that Void Rivals book by Robert Kirkman that they snuck a Transformer into and said, surprise, we got the license and it's all connected. So they launched Transformers and it sold incredibly well. It's written and drawn, just the first arc at least, by Daniel Warren Johnson, who has a crazy expressive style. His art is super cool. Someone else is drawing the second arc. I'm guessing it takes him a long time to draw this stuff, so hopefully he comes back and draws some more. But it's not the typical, a lot of the Transformers comics over the last few years have been very sleek and detailed and slick, trying to look photorealistic, like these very complicated robots. And this guy throws all that out the window and just has crazy, almost manga-inspired action sequences, and things are gritty and might not be much of a spoiler by the time this comes out, but Optimus loses his arm at one point and starts beating somebody with his broken arm, and ends up having to grab Megatron's gun and straps it to himself. So he's got,
I was gonna say,
Megatron's
is he gonna
arm.
get a gun too?
Yeah,
Wow.
So then, as this in one issue of Transformers, there's the army's flying by, and there's this codename, Conrad Hauser, codename Duke, sees a Transformer, and he's like, "What is this?" So he goes back and is being debriefed. He's like, "You didn't see that?" He's like, "Yes, I did. There's these crazy aliens." He's like, "No, there's not. You got to keep this quiet."
You're drunk.
So it ties into G.I. Joe. We had a Duke miniseries, and then a Cobra Commander miniseries at the same time. That they didn't reveal this ahead of time. It was they kept this under wraps, but it all has to do with Cobra Law from the animated movie, Globulus and all these mutant snake
Nemesis
people.
Enforcer.
Nemesis Enforcer. So they're making, in this world, Cobra Commander's origins are from Cobra Law, and they actually have Megatron prisoner, and they're trying to extract, the secrets of these Decepticons. So they, G.I. Joe and Cobra are both forming basically because of the Transformers. Them being on Earth sparked this arms race between these two other factions. So the two G.I. Joe Transformers is ongoing. The two G.I. Joes are just mini-series, and there's supposed to be two more. They haven't announced what the next two are yet. But I've enjoyed all of it. I'm not the biggest Transformers fan. As we said, you have to pick one or the other.
Right.
If you're an 80s kid,
right.
I'm definitely the G.I. Joe guy. But I've really enjoyed the Transformers book. It's small. There's just a real small cast because they don't have enough energon to power up enough soldiers. So it's like, again, most of these comics over the years have just hundreds of characters. Throw in everybody's favorite character, have a real complicated continuity, and this one is super easy to follow. I know all the characters. It's just been really excellent. And the G.I. Joe, I love G.I. Joe, but I was like, Duke as a main character? Who cares about Duke? But that series has been excellent. There's been cameos from people, and we've already met Stalker and Rock and Roll, and the Baroness is there. It's just been really fun tying all these properties together again. And the sales are there too. Nationwide, these books are selling out like crazy. So other people are jumping on this too. And I'm glad it got this fresh blood from Image and Skybound and Robert Kirkman to kind of pump new life into these properties that we've loved literally our whole lives.
I'm interested in it. I just don't have time I can't get down there to pick up my regular stuff. So it's it's nice that there's stuff out there. I'd rather have too much than too little. I feel I should mention, I forgot to say that this most recent Captain America run, I think I picked up today the final issue of the first arc of Straczynski's Captain America, volume 11 or whatever. But I've really enjoyed it so far. It flashes back to free serum Steve Rogers as a kid, having to, just being a teenage hero as just a good citizen dealing with the American Bund, Nazi presence.
That era when there were Nazi sympathizers in
Right.
America. And they're like, that guy's got some good ideas. And Steve's
he's
like, even a scrawny Steve.
Actual events and paralleled with what's happening in the present day. It's really well done so far what I've read, and I'm just really enjoying it. Just can't wait to see what he does next.
That's all I got for comics.
Did you guys see anything about the Disney company spending or putting $1.5 billion into Epic Games? It says create expansive and open games and entertainment universes, all connected to Fortnite.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Fortnite thing.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get in on the Fortnite thing.
That might be interesting. Get your
that last thing they did was hugely successful, wasn't it? You collected the miniature people that I forget what those were called.
Amiibos or whatever. Disney, what'd they call that? I don't know. They're in everybody's closet right now.
Get them graded. Send them in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure they're 10.0s.
Right next to your Lorcana cards.
Yeah.
And if you like comics, you should check out SoProComics.com.
My boys are so pro.
That I write.
My boys are so pro.
So pro.
Got a Kickstarter right now for Insecticid issue 4. It's our longest running series so far. We got actually Bluff Creek number 3 is in the works. Burt and Woodrow's Last Adventure number 2 is in the works. The Moth number 2 is in the works.
That's like 11 right there.
We got a lot coming in 2024, hopefully, so hop on board. Same with us at Ka-Pow. Become a patron. Join us on Facebook. Elsewhere.
Yeah. On the internet.
Wherever podcasts can be found. Thank you for listening. Anything else?
Nope.
That's it. All right. Good night, everybody. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
Seth. Goodbye. Forever.
Send us your stuff. We'll grade it.
Yeah.
The KPP Grading Corporation.
Yeah.
That's right.
We will.
We got a vacuum sealer and some freezer bags and
I just bought a box of freezer bags.
Yeah.
We could do quite a run right now.
Sharpie markers.
What do we grade? Jeffy's to Jesse's. We got a 9-point Jeffy right here.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.